Coach, first of all, congratulations
Thank you.
on that, the 7-0 start. No, a
Thank
lot
you.
of basketball left, but you got to be pleased with the beginning of this year.
Yeah, it's good to get off to a great start. I think guys have come out of the gates, playing pretty hard and trying to share the basketball. We've seen a lot of different types of defenses up to this point. I'm sure Wednesday night, will be no different. Davidson plays man, they play zone, they play a little 1-3-1. But I think that it's great because you try to teach a life lesson out of it too. And one of the things we've been talking about with the guys is it's one of our 5 values in our locker room is humility. And that, it's like everyday life. You get out in the real world, nothing's guaranteed, nothing's promised. This start doesn't, the game doesn't owe us anything because of this, but it just shows that you got off to a terrific start. And now my big thing is just don't go away from what's gotten you to this point, which is practicing hard each day and staying humble.
When we had the game against East Carolina, I thought the game was fantastic. The atmosphere was just as
Incredible
good as Halton
crowd.
was really.
Absolutely.
It was buzzing again for that ball game, and from the tip to the end, it was loud.
It really was. Yeah, and I want to thank everybody that came out for that game, because whether they realize it or not, our guys feel that. I mean, I don't know how you can't. And there's times when we go on a run and. When Ivan hit his 3 in the first half, the ball got pitched ahead and he made one in front of their bench, and that put us up 18 in the first half. The place just exploded. So I really want to thank the Niner Nation. They were strong as can be.
You talk about keeping the humility that they've got, and that's very important. But one of the things getting off to this kind of start, and these are young kids, when that first loss does come, they'll feel it.
Yeah.
And they won't like that feeling.
Right.
And they'll work even harder to make sure that it doesn't happen anymore that can happen.
I agree with you. Yeah, and you've been in this deal, Lanny, in college, and so you kind of know, what it's like. And the thing we try to tell them, and again, that's another life lesson. And adversity is a part of life, and it's not a matter if you're going to have it or not. It's how do you respond.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so one of the phrases we try to use, win or lose, is forget the experience, remember the lesson, and the winning experience is great, but then at some point you got to set it down. And what's the lesson? Why were you successful? Or if you're on the other side of the column, you forget the loss, you get that out of your system, but learn from it. So you always get a chance to teach one way or the other, and this group has been pretty good thus far, trying to embrace what we're asking them to do.
The Bojangles game break back from the East Carolina game, you guys really had a big night on the glass, plus over 20 in rebounding, and also a high advantage in points in the paint, which is really an emphasis this year to try to get that ball inside. And probably the best game this year to really, when you look at the whole game, how it played out, getting your points inside the paint.
Yeah, I think the guys did a really good job of that, especially as the second half wore on. I thought our depth, might have wore on them a little bit. Multiple guys being able to go in there. Guys like DeMario had a couple of matchup issues that we were able to take advantage of with a smaller guy on them. So it's good when the guys are starting to see that a little bit. You can hear them in a timeout saying, hey, we got a matchup here. So-and-so might have a smaller guy. That's a good sign. I mean, we haven't perfected that yet, but they're starting to think the game, more and more. So that's a good sign. I was really happy with the points in the paint stats, though.
Defensively, coming in, East Carolina was a team that could score some threes. 3 or 4 guys that could really get hot, and for the most part did not. You guys did a good job shutting that down. We're going to play a Davidson team that scores a lot from behind the perimeter, behind that three-point line.
Absolutely.
So probably the biggest challenge to date in terms of guarding that three-point line.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, they shot 30 of them at New Mexico on the road, made 12. So they've got 4 or 5 guys that can all make them. Really the whole starting 5 is capable. So they just got a crew that you got to be aware of every time they catch the basketball. You just got to assume that's a guy that's capable of shooting threes. So they'll be the toughest team we played thus far. And then the first true road contest. I know Alaska was the road, but it wasn't
going into somebody's
too
home
many
environment.
Canucks out there yelling at us. Yeah. So, but no, it'll be a hostile environment. Which, if you're a college basketball player, this is what you go to college for.
One of the things I think that brought out the maturity in the guys was able to hold their head. I know Coach Lebo there in the first half when things started kind of getting away, he was trying any combination, running a lot of guys in and out. And our guys just kind of kept their head and kept doing what they were doing, really didn't pay any attention to the subbing or anything else that was going on, stayed inside the mindset that they needed to do to execute what they were doing.
Yeah, it's a great point. And that's what you try to develop is an even keel, throughout the game. You try not to, if you go on a great run, hey, that's great. What do we got to do the next play? If they go on a great run, which they made some runs at us, I think our cushion was enough to where maybe we didn't feel those runs as much, which is a good thing. But it's tough to keep a good team down the whole game, and they that's an explosive crew. Same thing with this Wednesday. Being in a hostile environment, keeping that same even keel is going to be very important. Don't let the crowd affect you. Don't let a bad call or a hard foul affect you. Just play the next play and then play the play you're in.
You look at the box score from that East Carolina game, 4 players in double figures. You have so much balance. Anybody throughout the lineup at any given night can have a big night for you. And this was the first kind of breakout game for freshman Willie Clayton. We'll talk to Willie a little bit later on here in the show.
Yeah.
But he had a double-double. We had him after the game join us on the post-game show. He was so excited about that first double-double. But he brings something to the table for the 49ers that we've not had in a while.
Yeah, he's a high energy. He loves to do the dirty work, which is a skill in itself because a lot of times, in this game, you got to beg guys to be that guy that doesn't mind doing the dirty work. And, Willie has kind of carved his role and his niche into like, hey, I'm gonna run you into the ground. I'm going to rebound until you say uncle. And I'm going to get on a loose ball if it's up in the third row of the stand. So he just got a knack for doing so many things. And the beauty of it is every single one of those things is connected to winning. Those are winning plays. Hustle's related to winning. Rebounding's related to winning. Running the floor and playing with great energy, making your opponent put his hands on his knees. That's created to winning. So, and the thing I love about him most, he's just the same kid every single day. He comes in your office. He's in a great mood. And if he's had a bad day since he's been here at Charlotte, he's done a great job hiding it because I haven't seen it.
Another kid, Terrence Williams, when one of the things that I saw him do that hadn't really seen him do a whole lot earlier in the year, he really used the baseline a lot.
Yeah.
Is that something that he looks for? Is that something that he saw that he took advantage of?
Yeah, I think, first bucket of the game, he saw an opportunity, and they were a tad slow on the rotation. He's a strong kid. I mean, if he – kind of like that phrase they use in football, if he's even, he's leaving. Mm-hmm. So if he gets his shoulder into you, he's a handful. So, and then the other time, there was a skip pass against the zone, and he, their back guy didn't drop fast enough, and he got another layup. So, we just try to tell T, just take what the defense gives you. His assist-turnover ratio is about 1-to-1. It's steadily improving, and we've been just trying to get him to make good decisions when you don't have it. Just teaching them how to be a better poker player, in terms of driving that ball. Sometimes if they're in your way, you got to stop. It's like your daughter's probably played a game. It's like red light, green light, running up down the street. It's kind of the same thing when you're driving the ball. Somebody's in the way, stop. If it looks like somebody's in the way, slow down.
Perrier's another one that he took advantage of some straight drives down the lane that turned out well. If you go to the hole with the ball, one or two things are going to happen. You're either going to get the basket, you're going to get the foul, or you get both.
Exactly, yeah. And P's another pretty strong straight line driver, and I think some of that has helped us get to the foul line. And at times, if you just drive the ball and you get bumped, it may seem insignificant, but on that board, that might put us from 5 fouls to, the other team goes from 5 to 6 fouls. That means now you're one away from going to the foul line.
Our phone number is 704-332-0173. We're here at Wild Wing Cafe University until 8 o'clock. The Alan Majors Show, again, 704-332-0173. Coach, one thing I want to ask you about the game, especially since it is a relatively young team, and a lot of times you'll have 3, sometimes 4 freshmen on the floor. Mm-hmm. It was a physical game, especially to start. Yeah. And then there was that little dust-up in the first half, and all of a sudden they kind of changed the way the game was called for a while, and it became much more closer with fouls being called. So as you have to make adjustments as your players play that game out, then in the second half it kind of picked up physical again, and then it changed again. That's going to be difficult when you try to figure out you want to play hard, but you don't want to get in trouble either.
Yeah. I think we talked to the guys when practice first started is how hard can you play and still stay disciplined. And that's, and we haven't perfected that yet. It takes time to work that, but that's what we're trying to build into is how hard can you play, how physical can you be, and still stay within the lines of, the rules and not do anything dirty or cheap shotting anybody. And, every game, depending on who's calling it, sometimes just that little quick bump is a foul. Other times, it takes 3 bumps to be a foul. I'm guessing Wednesday it's probably going to be 4.
That usually is a pretty physical game.
But hey, it is what it is, right? I mean, I think a lot of our guys sat around and watched that Georgia-Alabama game before our game on Saturday, and I saw multiple guys saying, wow, I mean, what a war. So, part of that is just bringing what the game requires. I think that's as you grow as a basketball team, you got to learn to figure that out. And the first 4 minutes Wednesday night, there's going to be a tone set by one team or the other, and then the game is going to, play itself out accordingly.
We're going to take our first break right now, but a lot more left here at the Allen Major Show tonight here at Wild Wing Cafe until 8 o'clock. Love to hear from you. The phone number is 704-332-0173. This is the Allen Major Show from IMG College. Welcome back to the Allen Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe University. Phone number 704-332-0173. The Niners off to a 7-0 start to the season. They take on their Mecklenburg County rivals, the Davidson Wildcats, this Wednesday night. Our pregame show starts at 8 o'clock. It's a doubleheader, so we're on there at 8. The game will tip at 8:30 from Belk Arena on the Davidson campus. And, Coach, it's always a fun game. We kind of mix it up with the Davidson Wildcats. And, of course, last year we had one of our better games at our place and kind of took it to them. So that's good and that's bad because they're going to be ready this year. And they've already beaten Vanderbilt. They've beaten West Virginia. We know they have a very good team.
Yeah.
So we're not going to sneak up on them this year.
No, not at all. And they could easily be undefeated right now looking at their schedule and watching, just the 3 games they've lost. I mean, they were right there. They were up 16 at New Mexico in the second half. It was a tight ball game against Gonzaga. I want to say it was like 51-51 at some point about midway through the second half. So they've been right there. I think they're one of the best teams in the country in my mind. So, we'll have to, again, like we talked about, not so much matching the toughness. What you'd like to do is, bring more than you need. And the one thing about being on the road, being tough always travels well. I've never seen a situation where being tough didn't travel well. Being a little nervous doesn't travel well. Not making good decisions doesn't travel well. But being tough, meaning, catching the ball where you want it and running our offense on our terms, defending with toughness, 5 guys getting on the glass, all those things. I mean, you can play a basketball game on Mars or Jupiter, and those things will always travel well. So that's what we'll have to bring.
When you look at this version of the Niners this year, and you're right, it is the first true road game, first hostile environment. But really good teams sometimes, when you go on the road, they kind of welcome it. They like that little added something to the mix. And I kind of get the feeling that this group, they're going to like playing on the road.
I think so. To me, it's an opportunity. I mean, every game and every step that you take and every rock that you hop on as you cross this crazy stream of a season, you learn something more about your team. Before we went to Alaska, we were talking about, what are we going to learn by the time we hit ground when we get back, 6 days later. And same thing, by Thursday morning, Wednesday night, real late, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, we will have learned something else about ourselves. So to me, that's the most exciting part. And obviously you want to learn from winning, and because that's the best case scenario is that you win, and then you also say, all right, why did we win? And this is why, and that's a good thing. But I think the guys will look forward to it, and that's the thing I've been talking about. Staying humble, keep doing what you've been doing, but enjoy this opportunity. I mean, this is why you're a college basketball player to me.
In the East Carolina game, they shot 6 of 23 from the three-point line. They were another team that likes to shoot it. They're either falling or they don't. You have the old saying, you live and die by the 3. I mean, and that's actually what it does.
Yeah.
But what we bring that's a little bit different is the banging in the paint, the amount of kids that will go to the board and go for the board hard on both ends.
Yeah.
That's a little bit tougher if you just don't have the power to match up with it. A lot of times you can't do a whole lot about those three-point shots falling.
Yeah.
But when you start talking about the inside game, so, I guess it'll be one of those things where if Davidson can really address the power that we bring inside.
Yeah, and I think, and you hope to piggyback off of that you can, if you can be physical as the game wears on, that it does take a little bit of juice out of those legs that are trying to shoot those same jumpers.
Right.
But no, I think that's an advantage that we'll have to take advantage of. And there's a stat in the NBA with open jump shots and challenge jump shots. They say 34% challenged with a hand up come off, 54% with a hand down go in. So I mean, what a what a gap that is. And I'm sure, I don't know how that translates to college, but it can't be far off. So when they do get those looks, we want to make sure we get a hand up and just make it tough for them to see the rim the whole night.
How did you feel like you guys defended Miguel Paul? I know you did a nice job on Shamar Bowden. He really didn't do much when he came to the game, but how did you feel the matchup with Paul went?
Yeah, I actually, he got a couple buckets late in the game, but for the most part, I thought, we kept him in front of us, did a pretty good job keeping him out of the paint, made him shoot over an outstretched hand. I thought the thing we did well is we made him defend, which kind of gets back to your deal of, the same guys that are trying to shoot those shots on the other end, if they got to go down the other end and guard, then that can wear you down, and if you can maybe punish a guy on a drive once in a while or get him in there on a post-up once in a while and just make him feel you on the other end, because the best offensive players feel pretty good if they can get a pass on the defensive end. They don't have to go down there and, really, battle it out with somebody.
Well, you've got guys that want to take one end of the floor or the other off. They want to find a spot.
Right.
Instead of 110% all the time, they got to find an end that they can take a few plays off.
Great point.
To kind of get their wind back. And usually most guys will take the defensive end.
Exactly. Yeah, because, the more fresh that he is, that's a better he feels about shooting those jump shots, especially late in the game. So I thought we did a pretty good job, but I think the best thing is I think we made him defend us, which I think helped wear him down a little bit.
When you look at the overall result of the East Carolina game, after the game, the East Carolina coaching staff was very complimentary of our effort that night. And even Jeff Lieber said we knew that they were going to score inside. They wanted to go inside, but they really imposed their will from the opening tip. And a lot we talked about the points in the paint, how successful you guys were, knowing that you kind of came in with this already, MO that this is what we want to do, and they still couldn't stop you. That has to make you feel pretty good.
It does. I think the guys, it's more important to me that they know that because, I can only get out to that coaching box. And after that, they've got to have an understanding of, what they can get and what they can't get, as the game wears on. So they're doing a good job coming to timeouts and saying, hey, coach, we can get them on this right here, that right there, which is a good sign of guys starting to think the game's on.
We got a lot more to come here on the Allen Major Show tonight. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. We're going to take a break right now. And we'll come back and have our special player guest join us up here. We'll talk to freshman Willie Clayton as we continue from Wild Wing Cafe University, the Allen Major Show from IMG College. Well, there you have it. Willie Clayton, Niner freshman forward from Thomasville, Georgia. Our special guest brought to us by Ortho Carolina tonight. Welcome back to the Allen Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe University. And Willie, thanks so much for stopping by here tonight.
Anytime.
Coming off a great win against East Carolina, and I know you yourself had a fantastic game. But first, talk about just the win in general, a game that you guys got back to Halton after that championship run in Alaska, and it was a good crowd, a loud crowd, and you guys played awfully well.
Yeah, I think, it was a good win overall, even coming from, we got battled in Alaska and then coming to Halton Arena and then winning that game. That was incredible. That was good.
Talk about your journey from Thomasville, Georgia, here to Charlotte, why you chose UNC Charlotte, and what it's been like for you so far.
Oh, I got screwed up on it. Well, my journey from Thomasville to Charlotte. Well, first, I liked the coaching staff. When I came down, I felt like, I was home with the coaching staff and with the players. And then looked around campus, and the campus, everybody was nice, just like Thomasville. You speak, somebody will wave at you. So I just felt like home back in Charlotte when I came up for my visit.
How's it been so far?
It's been great.
Niners 7-0, and it's a great start to the season. I know you guys have bigger, loftier goals, but when you come to practice every single day and know that the work you've put in so far has given you this result of 7-0, as a team, you guys have to feel like things are going the way they're supposed to be going.
Right, but we got to stay humble at the same time, and we got to keep working at practice. It's certain things that don't go our way, like Coach was saying up here. Calls. If a call don't go our way, how we gonna react. So, and they do a pretty good job at practice of doing us like that. So,
one of the things I've noticed is, especially you and Darian, really like to go in and battle under the boards, offensively or defensively. That's where you like to be.
Right.
It's not all about offense. You guys really like to go after it when you don't have the ball in your hands.
Yes, sir. Yes, me and Darian, we like relentless on the glass. We are great on the glass. So yeah, whatever's down in the paint, that's me and Darian's.
When you came in for this your freshman season, I know you had goals of being out there and starting and being a big part of the success of the team. But you've really been a big part of it right now. Coming off a double-double in your last game, your first one, but being in the starting lineup and really playing a big part in the first 7 games. Is this maybe a little bit of a surprise to you how quickly it's come?
So. But, like I said, I work hard in the gym. Coach Major knew, that I've been working hard in the gym, and he's seen the progress. And, just put me right in there. I fit well in the group.
We have a lot of young guys on this team. Of course, you've been one of them, but there's some upperclassmen too. What have you learned from those guys?
I learned from, Braz, just to go after everything, be strong with the ball, and I also learned from, like, Mayfield to think the game out, because everything's not going to go your way every night. So just think the game out, play basketball.
We went out to Alaska. You mentioned this on the postgame show the other night, but for the folks that didn't hear it, it was your first trip out there, of course, to Alaska, and it's certainly a long way from Thomasville. What was that experience like for you?
Like I told you in Halton, I'm used to 130 degrees. I'm not used to -2. Thomasville pretty hot. Alaska was cold. It was too cold for me.
That was a long trip out there, but you guys came back with some hardware, the championship of the tournament. And, how about just the entire experience of being out there, a chance as a team to kind of get together, bond during the Thanksgiving break and play 3 pretty good teams and come back with a trophy?
Yeah, that was pretty nice. It was neat. Our chemistry got stronger. I can tell you that. Even, like I told you in Halton, when we went to the Bahamas, that was step 1. And then we went to Alaska, and we didn't have no fans. So, like, we had to bond on each other. So the chemistry was just there.
It was funny on the bus a couple of times. Our bus driver, Kevin, was pretty funny. And,
right.
And he got on your buddy, Darian, with some free throw shooting at the end. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
Oh, man. That was he threw some jokes.
Got to go to the zoo, too. We had a chance to kind of get out and see a little bit of Anchorage. You guys chose to go out to the zoo. It was 1 degree out that day, but we all had a great time. What was it like for you?
Cold. Cold. But it was nice seeing the wolves. We got to see the wolves in Harlem, and then I got to see a lot of animals that I have never seen in my life. Like, I've never seen a moose. So you don't see too many of them.
Yeah, up close and personal, too. It was about, 2-3 feet from us.
Yeah, it was. You don't see too many of them in Thomasville. So,
I hope not.
so I got to see some animals that I never saw in my life.
We're talking to Willie Clayton, Niner freshman from Thomasville, Georgia. Join us here on the Allen Major Show. Willie, it's your first experience now with the Charlotte-Davidson rivalry coming up on Wednesday night. What have you been told about the game, and what do you expect to see on Wednesday?
Well, I have been told that it's going to be very physical, and I'm just expecting a good, hard-fought game for Charlotte.
So far, before I let you go, one more question. What's been your most enjoyable moment so far as a Niner?
All my moments have been enjoyable. Like, just playing with the guys on the court, going to Alaska, bonding with them, going to the Bahamas, bonding with them again. Like, everything that we do together, that's the most enjoyable.
Willie, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure watching you play so far. Good luck the rest of the season, especially on Wednesday against Davidson. We'll talk to you again down the road.
Thank you.
Willie Clayton's been our guest, Niner freshman from Thomasville, Georgia, here on the Allen Major Show, brought to us by Ortho Carolina tonight. Back with more in a moment with the coach. This is the Allen Major Show from IMG College. Welcome back to the Allen Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe University. Phone number 704-332-0173. We're talking Charlotte 49ers basketball until 8 o'clock on ESPN 730 with Lanny Ford and Coach Allen Major. And, Coach, that was a lot of fun talking to Willie Clayton a moment ago, and one of your freshmen. And, boy, the ceiling is so high for him and a lot of your young guys. This has been a fun group to watch for someone like myself, and I'm having a blast watching you guys play right now, and
Thank you.
looking forward to the rest of the season.
Well, they're a fun group to be around. I think the best part is that me personally, the thing that I enjoy the most outside of just being on the floor coaching them is that just when they come in the office every day, and we'll have at times what we'll call NBA conversations, and that's not about the National Basketball Association. That sometimes if we do that, that means no basketball allowed. And it might be about family, it might be, hey, how's a crazy girl treating you? How's school going, or whatever it is. But I love it when they come in, guys come in and watch film. They come in, they plop their book bag down, and not just my office, but any coach, and they just hang out. Miss Libby loves them to death, and that's a great barometer of what kind of character you got. If Miss Libby gives you the thumbs up, then you're all right, So, but no, it's a fun group, and we're just trying to grow. I'm growing with them. I'm growing with them each day, so they're fun to be around.
We have a phone call, Coach. Again, the phone number is 704-332-0173 on line 1. Our first call to the Allen Major Show tonight. Welcome. Hello? Yes, go ahead. How are you?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Dave?
That's good. I was listening to the paper last week there.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're fine, thanks. Congratulations, Travis. You guys dominated. It was great to see.
Thank you very much.
Hey, listen, I wanted to ask you, in your preparations for Vegas tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the box score you had for Gonzaga, and there's three highest scores. There's two seniors and one junior, looks like. Cohen, Brooks, and Fox. And I just wanted to get your thoughts about a little bit of detail about your training today.
Mm-hmm.
You know anything about those guys? And again, there's two seniors and we're here with them, but the rest.
Yeah.
Okay, just get your thoughts.
Yeah, great question, Dave, and thank you for calling in. I would say, the big thing is just bringing toughness. Putting a toughness sandwich in our lunch pail when we head over there, because that'll be the number one thing. It's just managing the environment. It'll be emotional. So once you get past that, and now when you get to the X and O's part of it, is Damon Brooks is very, very good. Can score around the basket. He's got a great touch. Cohen's kind of an inside-out guy. He can make threes, but he's also very good inside. Kuhlman is kind of a combo guard. He plays the two, and he kind of plays some point a little bit. So he's a terrific shooter. The kid that Sarah Powitz that they've inserted into the starting lineup, he came off the bench last year, number 35, is a 6'7", high-level three-point shooter. So that's a tricky matchup because you got to make sure that you have somebody tall enough to challenge his shot when he raises up to shoot it. So there's some little matchup things that we've got to be aware of. They're a terrific transition defense team. If they can score quickly, they'll have a chance to get 80 points. And we want 80. We don't want them to have 80. But then after that, you got to have great awareness of their post play and their three-point shooting. They're very, very balanced. All right. Keep a tissue. Hope you don't catch one. Keep a tissue. If you're sitting in the nosebleeds, I hope you don't catch one. Thanks for calling, Dave. Take care.
Coach, one of the things that he brought up that you were talking about matchups. You've got a guy that can shoot the three that's 6'7".
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've noticed that we do a really good job of switching up, but the guys are always talking, trying to get back and get their proper matchups again.
Yeah.
I guess it'll be really important Wednesday night.
It will because, like you say, literally if you go up and down that roster, every guy that checks in is capable of making a jump shot. And that's different than, a guy that doesn't shoot it. Those guys you just try to keep in front of you and you maybe give yourself a little cushion. Guys that can shoot the basketball, there's got to be an alertness there. And you've got to treat them all that way. So that's one thing we've been talking about a lot, is just using our hands and our length and our activity, and just making sure that you try to limit their free looks. They're going to get some, but you try to limit that as many free looks as they can get.
Coach, I've not seen Davidson play yet this season. When we played him at our place last year, we kind of really got Jake Cohen out of his game. And he's one of those bigger guys that can step outside, hit a shot, but kind of threw him off his game. Didn't play particularly well that night. How's he been playing so far this season? Look at his overall numbers. He's second in scoring, but maybe down from what he's done in the past.
Yeah, and they got some other guys. The kid I mentioned, Sarah Powitz, that can shoot threes, has chipped in scoring-wise. The kid Cochran, has made some shots. He's capable of getting going. Coleman's good. So they have maybe a notch more balance because the kid that was starting last year, Tommy Droney, at the point guard, is now coming off the bench. And Tommy is more of a pass-first guy. Well, what they did is they put a pass-first guy out of the starting lineup and inserted a high-level three-point shooter. So I think he's taken a little bit of the pressure off those two bigs in terms of scoring. So sometimes those numbers are a little bit deceiving. He's playing about at the same level. They just haven't had to need him maybe as much because you have another shooter in the lineup. So, but he's played well. He's fouled out of a couple of games. Gonzaga game I just watched this afternoon, he played really well but fouled out. So, but no, they haven't dropped off much in terms of how they were playing from the end of the last season to now. Their record's very deceiving. They played a high-level schedule.
They have. Our phone number is 704-332-0173, 332-0173. Coach, you touched on the importance of the first 4 minutes of the game on Wednesday night. You've been going basically to the first media break and then making a mass substitution. Have you gone into your game plan for this game thinking the same way, or you maybe thinking of tweaking anything?
Yeah, at this point, obviously the next couple of days, you always read your team as best you can, but I think at the same point, I like the fact that it's a pretty decent offensive bunch that checks in, between DeMario and Braz and JT, checking into the game at that first media. So, right now we'll probably roll with it. I think the first group, that's a good energy group, and it gives us a chance to get the game started defensively as well. So, we'll play that how it goes, but right now I think we'll stay with it.
One of the things I've noticed recently in watching Terrence Williams play, and, he is so strong. His upper body strength is just amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost like you took DeMario Mayfield and made another one.
Right.
Because they're both on their drives to the basket. Their upper body strength just enables them to just get to the rim, and they're so quick off the dribble.
Yeah.
They're so similar. I mean, even the last game against East Carolina, I think T. Will was 5 for 10.
Right.
Mario was 6 for 12, both shooting 50%.
Yeah.
Both can grab some rebounds for you. They can steal the ball. They're very similar.
Yeah, that's a great observation. And T was 193 when he checked into Charlotte last summer. And the last I heard, he's up to about 209. So he had a tremendous spring and summer of just kind of putting his body together. And it's paying dividends because, a lot of times he's got to go against DeMario in practice. So you have two guys that kind of go at it. And then up to this point, we'll run into some guys that are more like him. But he's a physical guy, and he enjoys it. He doesn't mind getting hit. And he doesn't mind dishing it out.
I know he's put the work in, with DeMario, the guys that like to get in the weight room with Coach Atkinson. But, it's funny. They remind me a lot of guards like David from Xavier. That strong, physical kind of guy.
Yeah.
Going back to guys like Burrell and those players that played at Xavier.
Right.
And, boy, it's been amazing how it's changed from his freshman year to his sophomore year.
Yeah, that's the fun part of coaching was when you see guys grow like that. And we can only lead a horse to water. I think that I got to give credit to guys like T and DeMario, E. Victor in his own way, Perrier. They've all embraced, what we're trying to give them. So I think some of these guys are starting to see the dividends of that. That's a good thing.
Got to take a timeout again. The phone number is 704-332-0173. More to come here from Wild Wing Cafe, the Alan Major Show from IMG College. Welcome back to the Alan Major Show with Coach Major. I'm Matt Swarat alongside Lanny Ford from ESPN 730. Our phone number 704-332-0173. The 7-0 49ers go to Davidson this Wednesday night to take on the Wildcats at Belk Arena. Our pregame show starts at 8. We tip it off at 8:30. Coach, you've been preparing for a game like this. It seems like with each game, the opponents have gotten a little bit better.
Yeah.
And not all the same type of team, but when you look at skill level, probably each one has gotten just a little bit better.
Right.
And by far now, this is the best team we've played so far this season, and certainly could compete with anybody in the Atlantic 10. So we know it's going to be a battle, and it's great. You mentioned great for college basketball. The type of environment we'll be in. The crowd was great on Saturday, and
phenomenal.
this is going to be just like that. And it's going to be loud, and we own that trophy right now, the Hornets Nest Trophy. You want to go back home with it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, a funny story. The game ended last year, and Judy hands it to me, and we both kind of raised the thing up in the air, and I gave it back to her. And then I came in the office the next morning, and it was kind of early and it's quiet. The lights were out, and I flipped the light on. I sit down at my desk, and I look across, and the thing is sitting on a table that's right across from my desk. I almost had a heart attack because it looked like I thought somebody put a Frankenstein head. It's a Hornet's Nest trophy, but it's got the bolts sticking out the side of it. I thought I'd coach my last game after I looked up at that thing, but no, it'd be an honor to keep it, and we've got our work cut out. But again, it's a tremendous challenge, and anytime you face challenges like that, you try to embrace them, and I think the guys will definitely embrace it.
We have some local guys, too, Will being one of them, and Colby and some others that they grew up in this area and know what this game means. So I'm sure that the young guys, like Willie mentioned a while ago, they've been told a little bit about it. And, And we've been on the road, but it's not been like this. And even the guys that have been here for a year or so, they've not been in a game like this.
Right.
When we're at their place. I mean, it was loud at our place last year, and we had the lead pretty early and kind of kept it throughout the game. If this is a tight one, it's going to be a battle.
Right. No, absolutely. And I know Terrence knows Damon a little bit, Brooks, with him being a Charlotte kid, and they played against each other in the summer league during the summertime. And I'm sure Colby knows some of those guys too. So, no, it's a tremendous environment. And, Coach McKillop being now, I want to say it's 24, 25 years, I think, going on that he's been there. Obviously, he's done a phenomenal job. So, again, I'm thrilled to see what this opportunity presents for us because, again, as this thing continues to unfold, we're going to keep learning more and more about our team.
Coach, E. Victor got back into the lineup this week after having that ankle sprain. How did he seem to respond to gameplay? Didn't get a lot of minutes, but at least was able to get in there.
Yeah, we wanted to just, especially in the first half, we wanted to just kind of get a test, and see where he was at. And it's still a little bit I saw him today, and I just said, you got to continue to communicate with us on how you're doing. I said, because Vic isn't Vic that we know and love just yet. You're getting there. And he's able to go full go in practice. And so that's a good thing. He's back in the mix in terms of practice, which he hadn't been able to do really until up until before we left for Alaska. So he had almost missed about a full 2 weeks. But he's getting better. I think he'll be good to go to throw out there on Wednesday night.
How about Perrier Henry? We talked about the warrior that he is. He played with a broken toe. That was broken late in the game against Northeastern at the Great Alaska Shootout. And he was able to not only play, he played 30 minutes and gave you that same kind of Perrier effort that you normally get. He wore a size 13 on one foot and a size 14 on the other.
Unbelievable.
And didn't miss a step.
No, that's him. I couldn't get him out of the game in Alaska. I don't know if you saw it, but I saw him chewing on his jersey, like that. And usually when a guy's doing that, he's either tired or something's hurting. And he doesn't show it too much. And it was about 3.5 minutes left to go, and somebody shooting a free throw, and he walks over, and I said, "Hey, I got to get you out of here." He goes, "Coach, I'm not coming out." I said, "Okay, well." Then we got 3 timeouts left and make sure we're in the right defense. Keep it moving then. So, he's just an absolute warrior. That's probably the best word to describe him.
I mean, you have a lot of interchangeable parts, but when you look at the way the team has got to this point, he's got the heart and soul right now because, he's not afraid to get on somebody if they're not getting back on defense. He's the first guy hit the floor going after a loose ball.
Yeah.
He's not always going to make the perfect play.
Yeah.
But he's going to give you the effort that if he makes a mistake, the next time down the floor,
Right.
he can do something that can just totally change the dynamic of the game again.
That's it. I was watching the Steeler game, which is an incredible game yesterday. Physical. I mean, Steelers-Ravens, it was a classic. And Ed Reed at one point in the game got an interception in the end zone, and that's the first guy I think of is Perrier. I'm like, that's kind of who he is on the defensive end. He just has a natural nose for it. I'll be the first to admit it has absolutely nothing to do with me coaching, and that's just a kid that he's grown up that way, and he's just a tough customer. I mean, I'm so happy that we have him because I would hate to be playing against that dude.
That's a good point. And we do have him, at least for a couple more years after this one.
No doubt.
So, that's
Absolutely.
great. Again, our phone number is 704-332-0173. Going to take our last break, come back, and finish up the show here at Wild Wing Cafe and get ready for the Davidson game on Wednesday night. This is the Alan Major Show from IMG College. Welcome back to the Alan Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Atlantic 10 Conference right now. And our phone number, by the way, still time to get a call in if you'd like. 704-332-0173. The Niners 7-0 taking on Davidson Wednesday night. Pre-game at 8. Tip it off 8:30 from Belk Arena on the Davidson campus. Coach, sad weekend in college basketball with the passing of Rick Majerus at 64 years old. He's had heart trouble for a long time, and finally his heart gave out this past Saturday during our ball game, by the way, against East Carolina. And he had to leave his position as the coach of St. Louis in the preseason. Jim Cruz is going to take it over for the rest of the season. And a lot of folks hoped that he was going to be able to come back. But then it was pretty much obvious that he was going to come back. And people knew that he was getting, his situation was getting worse. Mm-hmm. And we did lose him this weekend. He tremendous to college basketball for a long time. And it's a loss to the game. It's a loss to a lot of folks that he touched their lives more so than just the basketball way. I mean, he was somebody, if you were in his inner circle, he was very special.
Yeah, you made a great point in the break. I mean, much like Bobby Knight, you never really know a person till you really get in there. And I had limited experiences with him, just a couple of A-10 meetings and some media things, you see guys at. And it was always really gracious to me. Coached against him a couple times, and it was always gracious as a competitor. I think the thing that strikes me first is that how thankful we all need to be because you just don't know. You really just don't know. And obviously they have our health and strength, but then they'd be able to do all the things we do. And unfortunately, he had the game kind of taken away from him before he passed away. But I'm sure 25 years as a college coach, as a head coach, there's probably numerous people that he touched that we'll never know about. And you just hate to see somebody who's made such incredible contributions to the game not be with us anymore. But, clearly our thoughts and our prayers go out to him and his family and anyone close to him.
Only had one losing season in 25 years, and he took a St. Louis team that had not been to the NCAA tournament since 2000 back last year, and they were so close to getting to the Elite Eight. I think they lost to Michigan State.
Yeah.
And after that game, he was very emotional, especially talking about his seniors. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like he could tell that something wasn't right. I read a story that Andy Katz had written today where he said just walking back to the locker room after, he realized he had to stop a few times, that the health problems are starting to kick up again, mm-hmm. and that's just really sad.
It is. So you hope and pray that anyone that's really close to him is having a sense of peace, that he's not going to have to struggle with that the health issues anymore, and hopefully they can kind of be comforted through this tough time. It's I lost my dad back in 2000. He had some heart issues, and what you try to do is I was 32 years old when he passed away, and you can always hang your head and feel bad, but I know one thing: I was a pretty doggone lucky dude to have him around for 32 years, and so you have to celebrate those times that you had with the people that are special with you, and I hope that that's how his family is looking at this. I'm sure they will.
Only a couple minutes left. Tough to segue from that, but your thoughts right now with the state of the A-10. There's some really good basketball being played in this league, and Xavier had that tough loss at the start of the season, but all of a sudden now they're 6-7-1. They're playing pretty well again. Butler's kind of turned things around. VCU's had an awfully tough schedule, playing really well. Temple's still undefeated.
Right.
It's going to be a tough year.
Oh, it's as deep as it's been. That was a big question at media day back in October about the A-10, and that's what I said. I mean, I don't have a ton of experience in terms of the going back very far with the league, but I would like to think in the last 10 years, possibly 15 years, it's as deep as it's been, just from top to bottom. I mean, like a lot of leagues, similar to the Big Ten. I mean, I can't look at any one team in this league and say that there's a lay-down game. There's not one of those games where you would say, we'll be okay. You're going to have to bring it, every single night. But the thing that excites me about that, with us kind of being in our early stages is, we're still trying to, keep trying to jump up and hit our head on our own ceiling of potential. So by the time we get around the league, you're going to get tested every night, but that's the fun part. You get to find out how good you are.
Well, Coach, so far 7-0, and got Davidson coming up on Wednesday night. Thanks for your time tonight, and good luck on Wednesday. And for folks that aren't sure, we are playing again at home. We got one more home game before going back on the road again on Saturday at 2 o'clock against Central Michigan. So good luck this week.
Thanks, fellas. We'll see you.
All right, the Allen Major Show is brought to you by IMG College here on ESPN 730. We'll have airtime at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night from Belk Arena up at Davidson College. Make sure and join us then. Tip-off is at 8:30 from Wild Wing Cafe. For Matt Squarehead, Coach Allen Major, this is Lanny Ford. Have a good evening, everyone.